What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadpool here, back with a hopefully relatively short video. So some of you guys were asking me this a while ago, when I started kind of experimenting with this, for George Clooney's voice as Spider-Man's Uncle Ben. And I got to thinking about this, and I want to kind of set the record straight of how I personally feel with using AI for some of my stop motion animation videos. And just AI in general, because I know we're in the era now where anyone can do basically anything with AI. In fact, I've actually seen some people, they'll take literally static shot pictures like this and tell an AI to basically make a full stop motion out of it, and to me, that's cheating. So I don't mind AI if it's being used as a tool, not as a replacement. So basically, what I mean by that is like, for instance, if I wanted to say I took this picture right here, the standard photo that's perfectly lined up right now, you know, and then feed it into an AI and said, hey, make a video out of this, I wouldn't want to do that, because to me that kind of defeats the whole purpose of stop motion, or just videos in general. I know there's several people who type in a prompt and push a button, and then boom, it comes up with something that's decent but not perfect. And I'm not going to do that. If I'm going to use AI voice or AI for anything, like I said a few minutes ago or a moment ago, it would probably be for voices only. And that's so far really all I've used it for, is to just try to help me do certain voices that I could do if I wanted to, and I have done for years, but it's like it doesn't sound the way I want it to. And like, one of my biggest criticisms on my channel is lack of voice character like specifics. So it's like, Spider-Man could be talking to Deadpool, and then Deadpool could be talking to Ash, and then Ash could be talking to, Ghost Rider or something, but they all sound relatively similar because it's all me. Now, I'm not doing this for everybody's voice, just a select few. Specifically, some people have requested I use Ryan Reynolds' voice for Deadpool. That's exactly what I did in the Halloween special, and as long as I'm able to still keep using that particular voice filter or that voice generator, I will be doing that. Some people actually did recommend this, and I've kind of experimented with it, using Jigsaw as Ghost Rider. I've done some test lines and stuff with it, and so far it's not too bad. But certain voices, like Ghost Rider's voice, eventually I'm going to have to just lean into that and having it be full on AI voiced Ghost Rider, because doing Ghost Rider's voice for me destroys my throat every single time I do it. And half the time I have to read voice, certain lines or videos or whatever repeatedly for like 2+ hours on end, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you do that, especially like if I did a Ghost Rider video, like full on centered video or a movie or something, that's 3 or 4 hours per day, or 3 or so hours per day, depending on how many parts or whatever the miniseries or movie or whatever needs. So rather than killing my own voice, I can just take an AI generated voice that sounds close enough to what Ghost Rider would realistically sound like, or at least what I would think he would sound like, and he can say exactly what I want, exactly how I want it to be said. I can then pick and choose which version of it I like the most, and then You know, I have a much better sounding voice than what I could pull off just by myself. It's the same thing I did with, like I said, my Halloween special. I had Deadpool, Wolverine, and Stone Cold Steve Austin all voiced by AI generated stuff. And for the most part, it sounded fine. Deadpool definitely sounded the best. Wolverine sounded okay. Stone Cold sounded okay, but he wasn't really shouting the way he was supposed to. But that's okay. That's fine. I would rather it sound okay than to me try and do it and have it sound awful. If that makes any sense whatsoever. So, don't freak out that this is going to 100% replace my voices altogether. It's just mostly certain characters, and it's just more or less just so I can have a bit of, differences between the characters. Because, like, when I did the Teen Titan, or not the Teen Titan, the Turtle Titan test video, or Turtle Titans First Night, when I made my custom Turtle Titans figure, I had to have subtitles in there because all of the voices were done by me, and that was a bitch to do. I did not like doing subtitles just so that way people could tell which character was talking at that time, because, I can do, like I said earlier, I can do voices, but, over time, especially when you have to redo the same video and the same lines over and over and over and over for, 2 hours or so, trying to make sure that the lines are coming out correctly, it gets a little bit harder to kind of keep those voices separate. Now, don't freak out with this. I may try to do the same thing with Metalhead's voice eventually, but it would be my voice copied. So essentially, I would probably go into like an AI filter system or whatever, talk as Metalhead enough times where it would hopefully gather enough voice to hopefully start doing that. So it would still be me, but it wouldn't be me, if that makes sense. So that is something I'm experimenting with off camera or behind the scenes, whatever. But for now, characters like Metalhead and stuff like that, they will still be voiced by me, no problem. And in fact, most characters are probably still going to be voiced by me. It's mainly the consistent ones like Ghost Rider, Deadpool, maybe Spider-Man at some point could be done slightly different. And I've had so many of you guys compliment my voices over the years. One of you guys actually said I should quit YouTube and go to Hollywood and try to voice Deadpool, just because, especially when I do like an exaggerated, ticked off or style voice, like it comes off as like the perfect Deadpool. So, then some of you guys have also said that I would make a pretty good Spider-Man as well, which I do appreciate that. But there's a difference between being good and doing what I think those characters' voices should sound like. And that's really what I'm leaning towards, because one of my currently canceled videos was Spider-Man versus Invincible, and I used an AI voice generator for Mark, and it sounded great. In fact, I may still end up doing it. But right now, I can't do it because I accidentally broke my Invincible head. It's still usable, but you can tell it's like haphazardly glued back together because I tried to move the head one too many times without pulling the head off the neck. And it being made of resin, decided to crack and split apart. So I will eventually make that video because I have far too many voice clips of Invincible talking to Spider-Man in his black suit symbiote shit that I can't just ignore that. So it's like, and part of it is I'm also trying to find a good J.K. Simmons Omni-Man voice as well, because he was supposed to cameo at the end of that video. And at the beginning of the video, I'm not going to say too much because if I end up doing this, I don't want to spoil the story portion of it. But just know that he was going to play a part. And Spider-Man was going to make a joke about him sounding like J. Jonah Jameson. So it's one of those things that as soon as I find something that I know will work, I should be fine. But it's just getting to that point. But my thoughts on AI in general are just that. If you're using it as a tool, it's fine. If you're using it to replace something entirely, then I'm not okay with it. Now you might be sitting there thinking, well, you're replacing your voice for a lot of characters or certain characters. Doesn't that technically then make you a hypocrite? No, because I'm still voicing enough of my characters to where it's like, Oswald's not going anywhere. Metalhead is probably not going to go anywhere. Certain other characters are probably not going to be touched with AI. It's mostly going to be characters like Deadpool, Ghost Rider, potentially Metalhead at some point, Venom, maybe Carnage at some point. Characters that would legitimately be hard on my throat trying to make those characters' voices sound the way they should, so that way I'm still doing those characters justice for the fans that really, really want to see those characters interact in my videos. So basically, to sum it up, I'm doing it for the hard characters. Because characters like Venom, Carnage, Ghost Rider, the Hulk, frickin' eventually Metalhead, all of those characters, when I voice them, I have to do like a deep, growly style, creepy voice, and it kills my throat almost every single time I do it. And I will then spend an hour and a half drinking water, and, I'll then make like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever, because the peanut butter helps soothe in my throat and whatnot. And it's a whole process that I've done, and I'm sick and tired of trying to do it this way, because eventually it will have permanent damage on my throat or on my voice, and I care not to have permanent damage just because I'm talking like a fucking skeleton on fire riding a motorcycle. So it's mainly for the big voices, and you could argue, technically Deadpool's not a big voice like that. Well, I personally would rather have a Ryan Reynolds sounding Deadpool, because in my opinion, him and Nolan North do it way better than I can. And it's not like I'm being replaced as Deadpool. I'll still occasionally voice Deadpool because I can just use my regular voice, as long as characters like Spider-Man are not in the same video. So basically what that would mean is if Spider-Man is in the same video as Deadpool, then it most likely might not be voiced by me for both characters, because then it would be, which one's actually talking to each other? Or which one's the actual one talking, aside from obviously the fact that Deadpool would probably be throwing F-bombs and trying to shoot the crap out of Spider-Man. But my point is it's like, for certain moments like that, I wanted to make sure that you can have a clear distinction of who is actually talking. Because otherwise, if a character... There are so many Lego stop-motion characters that I've done, and I've rewatched some of my older Lego stop-motion work. It's very difficult to tell who's talking half the time. I know who's talking because I was the one doing it. But other people... Well, how rude. Other people might not know that, or might not, recognize, who's talking, or whatever. And it's one of those things that it's like, I know this is going to sound scary at first, because it's AI, and right now everyone's technically always hated AI, but it's, especially YouTube channels. Some YouTube channels, they abuse the privilege for AI, like I mentioned earlier. But the way I'm using it, I'm trying to use it for its intended purpose. I'm using it as a tool, not a replacement. So that's my stance on it. Is I'm not trying to replace my voice, except for Metalhead. I'm trying desperately to get that sorted out. So if any of you guys out there know any good AI voice generator apps that can record a voice relatively simply, and then recreate that voice perfectly, let me know in the comments down below, or shoot me a link in the comments, and I will forever be grateful, because Metalhead's voice is the one that probably kills my voice the most. And that's because Metalhead's voice is supposed to sound damaged. That's why his voice always kills mine. Because the best voice I ever did for Metalhead was I will never forget this because it sucked. I literally went outside in my truck, screamed to the top of my lungs as hard as I possibly could for like 20 minutes, at least, maybe 10 to 20 minutes. And I walked back inside, my voice was completely gone and just dead in the water. And I walked back inside and I shot the video, and luckily was able to get it in one take. But it was the length I had to go to get that perfect sounding voice, because I had no voice at that time. Because I literally screamed for 10 minutes in my truck to get the perfect sound. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I know what's going to happen if I do that long term. I'm eventually going to have permanent voice damage, and I care not to have that. So that's just my thing. And like I said, this is nothing to be afraid of unless you guys absolutely do not want me to do that. I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction. Because like I said in one of my last videos a while ago, I'm trying to reinvent the YouTube channel as a whole. So, and part of that is experimenting with stuff like this. That's why I have been experimenting with new intros for specific style videos, like the Death Battle intro that I released not that long ago. Or, some other, the freaking Avengers theme song goes with everything style videos. Like stuff like that. I'm trying to experiment with stuff that I wouldn't normally do, because that's how you learn if it's not going to work or not. So I'm hoping that this is going to end up being a good thing. I know this was a lot longer than I anticipated, but I really do mean that. I really hope that this doesn't freak anybody out or cause panic or anything, because that's not what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be hey, we're going to try this. If it works, great. If not, then we'll go back to the way it was. And I'll just end up voicing every single character myself the way I have for the last 10 years. But a part of me just really hopes that this stuff all works out, because voicing Ghost Rider, voicing the Hulk, voicing Venom, voicing Carnage, characters like that, big, beefy, monster-style characters, it kills my throat every time. Metalhead especially. I think Metalhead kills my voice worse than what Ghost Rider does. And that's saying something, because if you hear the voices side by side, which I'll give you an example in a second, you would think that Ghost Rider's voice would kill my voice worse than Metalhead does, but no, it's Metalhead's voice kills my voice more than Ghost Rider's does. So, for example, here's Metalhead. Out of all the times I worked with Shredder, I never failed. It's like it's supposed to sound destroyed, like his vocal cords are crushed and he can't talk correctly. Versus Ghost Rider, not even the fires of hell itself can contain me. It's like it sounds more demonic and evil. And as you can see, I can do those voices. But over time, voicing those characters, especially if they appear in the same video, it kills my voice, and literally in moments it kills my voice, because I'm not I'm not a professional voice actor. I do this crap as a mere for fun. Hey, here, let's see what happens here, type thing. So I'm not a professional, and I know professional voice actors, they do this stuff all the time, and 95% of the time they don't really have any issues. But I know that the way I do it, it would eventually cause me to have issues and stuff later down the line. So I'm hoping that this sheds some light on why I've been kind of experimenting with AI voices lately, and gives you a little bit of insight as to what my personal opinion is to AI. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it if it's being used as a tool. The same thing would go like with stuff in Hollywood, because the Hollywood strike or whatever a couple years ago, that was one of the things that the studios wanted to do, was scan the people's faces, or certain background actors' faces, and use their likeness or whatever for like the end of eternity, and be able to just abuse that with AI, or be able to take a full script and just have an AI computer write out an entire movie. It's like, no. Can you imagine if like Avengers Doomsday was written by a full-on AI computer? No, that costs people so many jobs, and half the time it's, yeah, you can tell it exactly what you want, but it's like, it's still going to be off. It's still not going to be right. I would trust an actual person versus a computer that, yeah, I could type it in and it could do exactly what I want it to do, but I would trust a human being more than I would trust a computer. So, for YouTube purposes, I'm not replacing anything. If it's being used as a tool, like how I'm trying to use it for, I am okay with AI. If it's being used as a full-on replacement, then I'm not okay with it. So, and like, if it takes somebody's job is what I meant by replacing it. Like, for instance, yeah, I do everything on my YouTube channel, but I've seen so many ads and stuff for apps that if I wanted to, I could take a full-on video, splice it up into shorts, and then upload those shorts through AI, and have the AI perfectly be able to take, okay, this segment, this segment, this segment, this segment, this segment, all in shorts. And I might experiment with that at some point, but right now, that would just be a helping tool for editing. That wouldn't be a tool to replace, my editing skills or anything like that. I still have to edit the app, or edit the video with the app to edit the shit. So it's like, I'm still doing enough stuff to where I don't feel like I'm being replaced by a machine, because it's still me doing all the stuff to make it happen. Same thing with the voices. Yes, I'm still typing in the stuff to tell the AI what to say, but I'm still voicing all these other characters at the same time as well. So it's like, it's not really that big of a difference, if that makes any sense, if that makes much sense. But like I said, this is something that I'm just kind of experimenting with right now. If it works out for me, great. If not, then I'll just end up going back to the way things were and making really good friends with my water bottle. So that's not an exaggeration, by the way. But like I said, some of you guys were asking me what my thoughts are with AI, since it is such a useful tool right now. And it's extremely controversial on, is it good, is it bad, is it somewhere in between. I think it's a good thing if you use it as a tool. Don't do what James Cameron did and make a full-on movie or whatever where AI has taken over the world. That's where I would probably draw the line. But if you're using it as a tool to aid in a human-made, human-based process, then I say it's okay. Or if you're like for YouTube videos or whatever, if you're using it to, kind of help yourself, especially if you're doing a YouTube channel by yourself, which 95%, I'm sure a lot of people do use or do YouTube channels by themselves. Just something to help out, kind of take the little bit of stress off of YouTube video editing, or, in my case, is voicing, not full on replacing all of my voices altogether, making me obsolete, or taking a photo like this, filtering it through an AI and say, here, make a video off of this photo. That I'm not okay with, because to me that just feels like it's cheating. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm someone who is like, if it works as a tool, it's fine. If it's worked as, or used as a full-on replacement, it's not fine. So I know this was a little bit longer than I expected originally. So let me know what you guys think of this video down in the comment section below. Like I said, if you guys have any ideas or suggestions on AI apps that I can use to record my voice as Metalhead, feed it through an AI system, and perfectly capture that same voice, let me know, because I would love to replace his voice with AI. And if you can come up with certain characters or actors that you would like to see maybe tested with AI, let me know what you guys think. I've had several people say, in my personal life, have actually recommended that I use Jim Carrey to voice Oswald, which I would love to do, because he would perfectly fit that character. But I don't know if I can find a Jim Carrey voice generator that would sound convincing enough to be Oswald. And then I've seen some people say, like, oh, you should have Hugh Jackman use his natural Australian accent for Killshot, which again would be great, and I love Hugh Jackman, but if he's already voicing Wolverine in some of my videos, yeah, he's using his American accent for that. Or his specifically Wolverine accent for that. And that's another thing. That's why I'm so scared with this. Hugh Jackman has actual permanent vocal cord damage because of his Wolverine voice. So it's not just something that I made up. Look it up on the internet if you don't believe me. Look up Hugh Jackman damaged vocal cords or damaged voice or whatever. And I'm almost certain you will find something that says, hey, Hugh Jackman does legitimately have a damaged vocal cord or whatever because of how he does his American accent as Wolverine. So, granted, yeah, I'm still young, and no offense to Hugh Jackman, he's getting up there. I'm not saying he's old, but he's getting up there. So, and he's been playing Wolverine for frickin' 20 years. So, and I've only been doing this for 10. So, but just I'm hoping, like I said, this sheds some light on the subject, because I know some of you guys have been asking me about this. Some of you guys have been kind of curious on what was going on with this or what my thoughts are on it. And that's where I stand. So, like I said, I hope this sheds a little bit light on the subject. Like I said, please leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions, thoughts, or concerns. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys so much again for watching Ultimate Deadpool Studios today, and I will catch you guys all next time. Bye.